This year has been an interesting one, for me at least. I ended up having a lot of new experiences, many of which were wonderful opportunities for me to grow, and I learned a lot about myself in the process. For one, I was able to step closer to solving the number one issue I have as an artist, the inability to consistently create work, let alone work I'm proud of. This is actually a problem that's manifested in a few areas of my life, and surprisingly, the solution works across the board. I had lost sight of what made art fun. A lot of us start to make art because we find it enjoyable or because it fulfills some need within us. So when art became something of a chore rather than something I did because I liked it and because it fulfilled me, it was tedious, stressful, overwhelming, boring. I would have rather played Genshin than create anything. My well of ideas and motivation felt parched, and sometimes I asked myself, why did I ever think this was fun in the first place? Sound like you? Here's how I fixed it. The number one most important thing I learned about productivity this year is to know myself. What exactly do I mean by that? Well, when I couldn't make myself draw, I began asking myself, why don't I want to draw? At first, it took a while to be able to give a better answer than because I don't want to. To combat that, I would just ponder the question again. And the answers would vary. Because I'd rather play video games, because I'm tired, because I don't know what to do with this piece. From these questions, I dug deeper. For instance, if I would rather play video games than draw, why? Maybe I felt drained and like I needed some rest. Sometimes that was the reason, but I always felt like I'd rather play games than draw. Again, I asked myself, why? And eventually it came down to because video games are more fun, because art isn't making me happy. As I sat down to work on this video, I realized that this is actually an exercise we did in one of my university classes. We talked about habits and how to build habits that we can actually sustain. The key to building a sustainable habit is understanding why you aren't doing that thing in the first place. Do you want to work out more? Why aren't you working out already? What's stopping you? I don't ask that question as a vague motivational prompt. I mean literally what is getting in your way. Is it you and your own feelings? Is it something external, like a lack of time? Whatever the cause, boil it down to what you think the strongest preventer is for you and your habit, whether that's art or anything else, and come up with a plan. Usually this is a system of how to stop that or change it. For me, this looked like asking more questions. Why wasn't art making me happy? What made gaming more fun? What did I find fun about art in the first place, and how can I return to that kind of feeling? The reason I consider this tip knowing myself rather than asking why is because the process doesn't always look exactly like this, and you can start to recognize your own patterns. So then when you go into anything that you're doing, you can go into it with an understanding of where you tend to get stuck when it comes to certain tasks, and thus how to combat it right from the start. This, for me, leads to a lesser sense of confusion and anxiety. So how would you apply this to your own art? Say you find, after asking yourself why you don't feel like making a certain illustration, that you're overwhelmed by the idea of creating a background. Say you realize that you feel overwhelmed because you're not really sure where to start. One way to create a system for fixing a problem like this is to first watch some art tutorials, watch other people make backgrounds. Or you could just sketch shapes in messily and refine details after you have a sort of bone structure of what you want the background to look like. You could even decide to do photo reference studies once or twice a week just to add to your visual library and improve your confidence. So once we have one puzzle piece, which is the answer to our why question or our observed understanding of ourselves when faced with certain situations, we can use it to create a system that will hopefully solve the underlying problem that's preventing us from making whatever kind of art we want to make. Understanding of the self into system into habit. And this is hopefully a structure that can help us achieve some of our goals. When it comes to my art and the negative patterns that I've started to notice, I tend to struggle with a piece when I can't see a positive future for it. Basically, I have a hard time trusting the process, and I start to want to give up if I don't give myself sneak peeks about what the finished piece will look like. In a recent piece, that meant merging my background layers and blurring them way before they were actually finished so that I could see if the background I was working on would even look good when it was blurred. It did, and I undid the action and was able to continue working on it without that uncertainty of not knowing if the work I was making would amount to anything. For anyone in a similar situation to where I was earlier this year, I want to talk a little bit more about how I was able to find art fun again. I had to remind myself that my art is meant to be, art, and that may sound a little strange or vague, but it really freed my mindset in a way that surprised me. I realized that I had become perfectionistic and scared, and I kept comparing my work to others and even to my previous work, and feeling like if I didn't make sure every aspect of a piece was exactly 100% as I wanted it to be, I couldn't be finished with it, because later I would regret that I hadn't worked harder. This led to me hardly making any art, and though I was really excited and happy with the pieces I did finish, I don't think it was the wisest use of my time. For me at least, I think this negative mindset shift first came about when I switched from traditional to digital art. There are just so many ways that you can edit something when you make it digitally. You can zoom in all sorts of ways and add textures and lighting, and a piece is really only finished when you decide it's finished. Traditionally, I might add too much water and the paper might give out, or I might make a wrong stroke I can't undo with my markers, and because there are more ways to ruin a piece, I was able to understand the artistic nature of what I was doing and, I guess in a way, let go. However, my art is still art, it's still brush strokes and chaos, and it can be whatever I want it to be, and it doesn't have to be anything more than it is. I can be messy and play and have fun because it's art, and that's enough. Your art is art, and that's enough. The only thing it needs to do to be art is to exist. You made that, and that's amazing. Keep going, keep growing, and enjoy the process. I also wanted to take some time to talk about 2023 art resolutions. Because of this almost but not exactly burnout feeling I've been talking about, the feeling that art wasn't fun anymore, I haven't really been able to accomplish any of the goals I had for my art this year. So, going into next year, I want to be sure that I'm creating systems rather than just setting abstract goals for myself, and that I'm reminding myself of this productivity hack to make sure I'm utilizing my full repertoire of, hacks for how to keep myself motivated. Because, unfortunately, I learned the hard way that I need more than just an intention to accomplish my goals. So, what are my goals, and what kinds of systems am I trying to put in place? For one, I'd like to get better at drawing cats. And I've already started trying to work on that, as you can see by the little cat in the corner. I'm a huge cat person, and I have two lovely cats that I always want to make art of. However, I've always been notoriously bad at not making them look cute enough. I think that I can draw like an anime warrior cats looking cat okay, but I'm not trying to draw an edgy cat. I'm trying to draw cute, adorable baby cats. And it looks so simple too. Really cute cat art usually involves cats that are just like blobs, but you can tell they're cats, and that might seem super easy, and maybe it is for some people, but for my brain it just doesn't work. And so in order to improve in that area, I'm going to try to simplify my cats down into the bare minimum of shapes, round off my corners, and just draw page after page of little blob cats. To make sure that I actually try to do my best here, I'm going to try to make them into sticker sheets. That way I'll kill two birds with one stone and get more stickers into my shop as well. And I'll have the motivation I need to try to do more than the bare minimum when it comes to the actual drawings. Check out my Redbubble if you're interested in any of my stickers, by the way. It's at lunar-echo. I'm allowing myself to have kind of a nebulous plan for this goal because it's not the most important one. And I think I'll stay happier while I do it if I just kind of let myself do it when I find the time or when I think it sounds fun. Next, I'd also like to improve with backgrounds, and that doesn't just mean backgrounds like in a full illustration or a scene, that also refers to just backgrounds behind my character designs. I struggle a lot with knowing what to fill the space behind characters with in a way that isn't too busy and doesn't get in the way, but is still fun and cute and just looks nice. The system I want to create for this one is to create a background of some kind for each piece I create. That way, I'll hopefully get better at a variety of backgrounds, and they won't feel so spooky to me anymore. For learning to draw environments, I really enjoy tutorials by this creator. They were able to teach me to draw pine trees in a quick and simple way I've been able to apply to all different types of illustrations. Something else I've noticed I need to improve on, especially this week, has been color. Generally, I'm pretty happy with the colors I pick, but I also just tend to use different shades of pink for everything. That's my comfort zone, but I want to branch out so I can feel comfortable making more types of drawings. This kind of also applies to the way that I color, so I can create the art I want to create without feeling so frustrated. In a way, that is a little difficult because I want to create this change and grow as an artist, but I also really like how my art looks, the way it is, and so I want to be able to improve without losing any of the things I currently enjoy about my art. To work with my colors, I'm going to try to work on using palettes that I know are outside my comfort zone, like complementary color schemes. Maybe every other piece I'll try to branch out. You might be noticing that a lot of the systems are pretty soft and tentative. That's because I know myself well enough to know that if I impose a whole bunch of strict systems right at the beginning of the new year, I might not accomplish any of them. And that ties into my next art resolution, which is the idea that, again, I want to make sure my art stays fun. With all of these goals and systems, I'm still going to try to monitor myself and understand what I'm enjoying and what I'm not enjoying about the work I'm doing. When I find myself not enjoying the process, I'm going to analyze why and try to come up with a solution, because I'm the type of person that won't do things I don't enjoy, and art has such a lasting reward that I don't want to miss out on time to be having fun with it. One of my biggest art goals for 2023 is to just make more art. As I've kind of been talking about, not finding art fun was preventing me from making art in the first place. This has negatively impacted my growth as an artist, I think, and it's definitely negatively impacted my portfolio because I don't have as much to show for the year as I could have had if I'd just chosen to work faster or draw more. Drawing faster is something big that I struggle with. One piece takes me months. This is partially because I get stuck and I don't know what I want to do with it. So I either linger or I try a bunch of things that don't really work, and it just leads to kind of a mess. However, I'm going to really try to ask myself why I don't want to work on things when this happens. I also plan to draw at least 2 days a week, no matter how busy I am with school, internships, and life in general, because this is a time for me to grow, and later I'll be happy I did the work now. I'd also like to try to publish my first webtoon chapters this year, which sounds intimidating to me now because I've hardly finished even a page of scripting, but I am working on the webcomic behind the scenes, and I would like to get far enough with it that I can put it up sometime soon. My current goal is before April, but with school we'll see how that goes. If one piece of art takes me months at the moment, I don't know how quickly I'll be able to complete webcomic pages, but I'll do my best and we'll see. What about you? What are your art resolutions this year, if you have any? I'd love to hear them. Maybe we can help each other stay accountable with our goals. I hope that if you needed it, this video was able to help you in some way, and if it has, or if you have any other tips you'd like to share, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the new year.